Dzień dobry. Good afternoon. We're super happy that you chose this particular panel because it's going to be awesome. It's going to be in English, so it will be a little different than the other panels. So my name is Łukasz Dudka. I'm from Chicago. I'm one of the vice presidents of Polish American Congress and the general manager of Polish Daily News. Yes, it's a newspaper for those young of you that don't really use and read newspapers anymore. And I have four awesome panelists with me. They represent two generations, because that's what we're going to be talking about, the cooperation between two generations. So let me briefly introduce them. Let me start with Alicja Donimirska. Alicja is the president of Federation of Poles in Great Britain. She's also director at the Polish YMCA. Thank you so much for joining us. Next to her is Monika Lebenstein from Chicago. Monika is the member of the Młodzieżowa Rada Polonijna przy pani marszałek Senatu, and she's also a director of public relations for the Polish National Alliance, and she is the publisher, editor-in-chief of Zgoda magazine that is being published by the Polish National Alliance. So, Monika, thank you so much. Next up is Karolina Książek, also member of the Młodzieżowa Rada przy pani marszałek. Karolina is a volunteer at the Polish YMCA, and she's also a trustee of the Federation of Poles in Great Britain. Perfect. Okay. Last but not the least, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Frank Spula. For 20 years, Mr. Frank Spula was the president of Polish American Congress. He is still the president of the Polish National Alliance, the largest fraternal organization right there in Chicago. He has been everywhere, and he saw everything. He knows everything about Polonia in America.
I wish I did, but
Of course you do. So essentially, if you look at this group, we have two teams, two people who work together in Chicago, two people who work together in London, in United Kingdom. And we didn't script these, but they know the first questions I'm going to ask. What do you value in your teammate, Mr. Spula? What do you value in Monika as a representative of slightly different generation than you represent?
And you're absolutely correct. It's a different generation, but you know something? You have to learn one thing, is to have respect or like each other. In order to reach success or be successful in an organization, you have to like the people that you work with. That's a very good beginning. And sometimes that's a little difficult to start off with, because when you meet someone, you don't know whether you like them or not. You don't. But you give them an opportunity to learn each other. And you know, your question, Mr. Dudka, is what do I admire or what do I like about Ms. Lebenstein? Well, first of all, you know, I respect smart people, or people that are willing to learn. And she's always willing to listen, because without listening, you cannot get anywhere. And she listens. I've had the opportunity to work with Monika or Ms. Lebenstein for the last few years. Yes, she has a different opinion than I do, absolutely. And again, that's because of a generational gap. But that's okay, that doesn't make us different. We're on the same page. You have to be on the same page to get ahead. Her viewpoint might be totally different than mine, but that's okay. I'm willing to listen as well. Because you know something, there's always an opportunity to learn from one another. And you know, Ms. Lebenstein, she has a different outlook. You know, she's high tech for one. She's got TikTok, she's got Facebook, she's got Twitter. My generation, we didn't have that. But nonetheless, that doesn't mean that I accept it, but I'm always open to new ideas. And she is as well. And that's important. And eventually you'll come to a point of understanding each other, at least to work for the good of one thing, the good of the organization, whatever organization that is, or whatever you want to achieve. You have to have that open dialogue and understanding of one another. And the most important is to have a respect for one another. If you don't have the respect or like for each other, it's not going to work. And again, I do have the utmost respect for Ms. Lebenstein, because I do think She has talent and she's got opportunity. She has it and she takes advantage of that. So, you know, Ms. Lebenstein, I've never been in an awkward position. What do you like about someone, again, and especially about someone that you work with? But nonetheless, I don't regret what I've said. I can just echo that as well.
Monica, let's pass the baton to you. What do you appreciate about Mr. Spula? I know he's your boss, so she's kind of on the spot. But if you look at him, what qualities, what values, I think you value the most?
I think it definitely shows in Mr. Spula's answer. He is somebody who is very open-minded, thoughtful. He gives me a lot of opportunities to learn. And even when I make mistakes, he still believes in me. And he still pushes me to move forward and try new things, because that's the most important thing. I value his wisdom, his knowledge, the fact that he admits that in a lot of cases, it is time to move forward with ideas. And Mr. Spula always says, just because something worked in the past does not mean it's going to work today. And I think that is a very important perspective to have. But certainly I do want to underscore the most important aspect is respect, like Mr. Spula said, because if we don't have respect, then we will not have intergenerational cooperation.
Alicia, let's move to London and let's start with you. If you look at Karolina, what values, what qualities you value the most?
Well, just to give you a bit of a background, so in the Federation of Poles, it's you get there through the organization, so it's not for individual people, it's for organizations. We have about 50 organizations belonging to the Federation of Poles. And myself and Karolina go to Federation of Poles through Polish YMCA, which is a youth organization. So I guess the maybe not uniqueness, but it's a bit easier for us because we've known each other for a long, long time. We organize youth camps. We've got dance group where children start dancing at 7. So we've had a long time to get to know each other, and it also so it works a little bit different from that perspective, because it's there's a lot of people within the organization, and I believe that it's our job, the older generation, to give opportunities to develop and to work for the organization. And it's Karolina's, first of all, willingness to work for the good of the organization and give from the early age the best that she can for the organization, and that having that at heart was what kind of started, and Karolina always comes up with new ideas. So it's that I value a lot, and hopefully whenever it's possibility, then I hope she gets a chance to develop these ideas. And as Frank said, there's stuff that the older generation, I'm just a few years younger than Frank, but still the stuff that I don't grasp fully. And also Karolina knows what the youth want, and it's how she develops that, and she's very reliable. That's for sure. And the smart ways of using your strengths for the good of the organization, of the projects that you do is great.
So, Karolina, your turn. When you look at Alicia, what do you value the most?
That's really hard to follow up. But like Alicia said, I think we've known each other for a very long time, and I think that's something I very much value is the fact that not only is it a cooperation, but it is a friendship in a way. But I think the most is also the trust that you've given me, you've given the youth in our organization. Ala was the first person to kind of just be like, okay, you've got this idea, you go for it. And she's there to support. So I think trust, but also honesty, and just being very honest about ideas, being very open to them, and being able to say, look, okay, this might work, or this might not work. Let's work around how we can do this. So I think those three components really merge together to make such a brilliant relationship.
So that was kind of typical therapy session, right? Let's talk about the relationship that we have. And I did it on purpose. I wanted to show you that it is possible for two different generations to work together and kind of check what can they build upon. And one thing that was in common in both the US, in Chicago, and London example are the ideas, right? Those ideas, those fresh ideas, fresh concepts come rather from young generation. And that young generation needs the stamp of approval from the old generation, from people in power in order to implement those. Did I get it right? Do you see it the same way?
Yeah, I take a look at this situation, Mr. Dudko, as this. You take a look and take into consideration of what the ideas are, and you have to give it a chance. And I don't look at age when I see somebody younger as Ms. Lebenstein or anybody else. I value their opinion and see if their idea works. I don't look at age. Age is inconsequential. Yes, you want to give everybody an opportunity to have a crack at it. Have a crack, and let's see what happens. You take a gamble. Life is a gamble. Everything is a gamble. And you go for it.
You have a lot of ideas. I bet you do, both of you. And do you feel that you can communicate them clearly? Because, guys, you speak in a totally different language than the old generation. Is it easy to communicate your thoughts to them, to be understood?
Absolutely. I think communication is key. And I think in our organization, I think being able to share those ideas and being able to kind of go to Allah and say, this is something we have in mind, is something that happens very openly. Like I said, even with, for example, social media development, our organization has been around for 100 years.
About 80.
Sorry, 80 years. But obviously, as times move forward, I came to Alan and I said, look, I think we need a TikTok because that's kind of where the youth is now. We need Instagram. We need to post more. And again, that's where the trust falls in, where Allah turned around and said, that's
what was
great.
the response? What is TikTok?
No, Alan knows what TikTok is.
Yeah.
Just about.
She's on the TikTok.
Yeah, and
I sometimes follow and do to follow her ideas with a bit of skepticism that it might that it will work, and obviously it does work, and then I'm sometimes astonished that this is what the youth want, but that's just the proof for me that we need to engage young people, because even if I was on TikTok or followed it or got the ideas, I would not be able to kind of choose or approach it in a way that's best for the organization, because she knows the organization, but also knows what youth wants, what youth watches, how to engage them. And this is where I believe that support and that trust comes in, yes, because the older generation or us could say, well, we don't need this, as you said, we didn't have that 20 years ago, why do we need it now? We're fine. But it's not. There was this case of, I think we have Adrian here, TikTok from Camp, of Adrian dressed as a banana, and I think it's got the most, and running around, and I looked at it, I was, really, we posting this organization, I think it got the most views, and it's a funny video that shows actually what we do, but I would never in a million years think of that idea to do it, so yes.
Yeah, and ultimately, the leadership bears the responsibility for the organization, for the general course that is going. And you have young people approaching you with this crazy idea of setting up a TikTok account for an organization, and you have to have a lot of trust and a lot of faith that the image of the organization will not be ruined, that it's not going to transform in something totally different than it was meant to be. The trust, you also use that as a keyword. How much trust do you need in the young generation to let them run with the project? Mr. Spula.
Well, first of all, as I said earlier, you need to give everybody an opportunity and take a chance. Technology or life today has changed so much different, as Allah said a couple of moments ago. In the last 20 years, in the last few years, things have changed so tremendously with technology that we have to accept it. It's like riding a bicycle. If you're riding a bicycle and you stop, what happens? You fall. Same thing with technology. If we don't accept it, we'll be left behind. And the way our accelerated society is working today, we need to accept it wholeheartedly and move it. It's within building your membership with an organization or selling your products. And you just take a look at the automobiles today. They drive by themselves. And in the future, you can say, boy, I'm never going to buy that damn car because it's self-driving. Well, guys, it's coming around. We go to the moon, and it's driven by what? Automatic pilot.
But how willing are you to give the keys to that car or password to that TikTok account to Monica and say, do it for my organization?
Well, we've accepted some of her changes, and I say that we've accepted some of her changes. And, if they work, they work. Congratulations on a job well done. If they fail, let's try again. Let's try something different. You have to be open to failure, and there's nothing wrong with failure. If you don't take the chance, you can never fail. Take the chance and go for it.
Right, and something that I would like to add is that a stereotype that people have of the younger generation is that they're very stubborn, that they won't take no for an answer. And I do believe it is important for younger people to sometimes take that step back and say, okay, maybe that idea wasn't the greatest. Mm-hmm. Maybe I did not have the experience that I needed in order to make this idea work. Mm-hmm. Maybe I didn't have the knowledge. And that's why we have to rely on our older mentors for support and be open-minded to not only listen to their advice, but accept it. And that's what intergenerational cooperation is, because it's a two-way lane. We both learn from each other.
Yeah, so you approach them and you hear, yes, but. And then all the problems, all the pitfalls, all the potential difficulties come out. And isn't it discouraging for you? You come up with this great idea, you form it in your mind, you're ready to present it, and then you hear all those question marks. Isn't it discouraging for you? At what point you say, I give up? Or you don't say, I give up, and you go on. How is it with you?
I think I would label that as honesty, and I wouldn't class it as being discouraging, because I think it might be you come with an idea and it will be yes, but with the buts, there's that support. There's that idea of, this is something we might have to work through, or we might have to change, but we can do it together. And that's, like Monika was saying, the knowledge and that experience from our mentors kind of comes in that moment, because they do have that, and I'm really grateful that honesty is there, because it's also a way for me to learn for the future.
Do you realize that you're a mentor to those guys?
No, but it's very nice to hear. Just coming on from what you said, I believe and always believe that you can't just ask young people to do this one little thing, another one little thing, another one little thing, and then take the credit as an organization or as a preses. That will, and we've seen that in the past in the United Kingdom, that will just discourage young people getting involved. So I believe that the way to get involved is to give them that opportunity to develop. Yes, there is a trust involved, and there are projects where after talking and kind of getting to a point where we agree, it's then kind of young people's baby, so to say, and we have, for example, youth forums, as London run by Carolina and Manchester run by Adrian there, and ultimately it's our role to take it on us. Yeah, so you work with people that you trust. But then ultimately, we are the ones responsible. So hence the buts, yes. But if you don't give them that opportunity to own something, and it needs to obviously start little. You can't. I think the trust builds as well. You don't go like, hey, I've just met you. Why don't you organize something worth £500 million, and then we'll see how it goes. It doesn't work like that. So I think it develops over time, that trust. But you do need to get their engagement to then be able to pass on the organization. They need to own idea, project, or whatever it is.
And it's not a surprise that the first steps are always the most difficult, right? When you come to the first meeting, when you meet people for the first time. And I understand that in many Polonia organizations, at those meetings, the average age of participants is, I don't know, 50 plus, 60 plus, and all of a sudden you come in your 20s. Mm-hmm. What do you see? What do you perceive? What are your first impressions at those meetings?
What am I doing here?
Yeah, probably, right?
What am I doing here? But you know, Mr. Dutka and folks, every generation goes through the same thing. There's no differences. There's no differences. Whether in my generation, again...
What were your beginnings?
My beginnings were, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. But I was encouraged, hey, hang in, you know, things will change. And, you know, nonetheless, it's a matter of getting acquainted, knowing people, you know, and people get accepted. Yeah, look, you need to have respect, whether age, you know, we say older generation. We're all getting older, folks, every one of us. Everybody sitting in the audience there will eventually be the next generation and a subsequent generation. So again, you figure, what am I doing here? But you figure, boy, all of a sudden, time goes on and you get accepted. You get accepted by the people that you think that are strange to you or older to you, and you acclimate yourself. It's part of life. It is part of life, and we have to accept that. There's an aphorism, the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that's been going on for centuries. It's the time of Aristotle and Socrates, same thing. They had gone through the same thing. If you read history, and I do read some history, they had the same discussions 2,000 years ago. And here we are, society today, we're doing high tech, we've got computers, we've got TikToks, we've got everything. We cars that think for themselves. We've got AI. We got going to the moon. 2,000 years ago, people maybe thought about that, but heck, we're all the same.
Alicia, what was your story when you started at the organization? Your first impressions at the first meetings?
So at Polish YMCA, it happened kind of organically because I went on the youth camps that we organized, and then when I moved to England, I got involved in the organization, so it was more smooth. I already knew people. With the Federation of Poles, yes, it was a bit like Frank saying, what am I doing here? But I think it builds resilience, sitting in those meetings. But I remember my first when I joined Federation of Poles, it was during COVID times, and there was a first meeting online, and I was welcomed by one of the trustees. Oh, it's so wonderful to see such a young person among us. And I was 41 then. So when I joined, and then when I became the president of the organization, I saw that the change is needed, and it can't be that the youngest trustee is 41. So we have Adrian there, 21 now, being the youngest trustee. So I do believe that, yes, like Monica said, that we need to take the experience from the older generation in various ways. Sometimes it's mentoring, sometimes it's getting to know the history of the organization and what shaped it. So there is a lot that we can take from the older generation, but also we need to look into the future and get young people involved. And in order for that transition to be smooth, well, you need to get them involved when they're young.
Monica and Karolina, I also want to hear your first impressions, how your story with being active in Polonia organization started.
I'm going to have a hot take here. I think a lot of people would walk into a room of older people and think, oh no, I don't belong in here. I don't want to be here. I see it as opportunity. And I think it's fun. And when I think about our Polish community and all the wonderful people that I have met, I feel very blessed because all of these people, they came from different backgrounds, have different stories, and that means different wisdom and knowledge to pass on. And I'm honored that at some point I became part of their story, and they're part of my story. And I think that's a very beautiful thing because, as Mr. Spula was saying, everybody gets older. One day, maybe Carolina and I, we're going to be doing this same panel, but just in a different seat. And so I think it's very important that we understand that we are pretty much the same, and we are all learning, and don't be afraid or discouraged if you walk into a room and you see that everybody is a different age than you, because that means that you have something to contribute and you have something to learn from those people.
Carolina?
I completely agree with what Monica said, and I think it is that kind of shift in perspective where I remember walking into a room and thinking, like one of the first kind of meetings, and thinking, oh my gosh, like you said, what am I doing here? But once I was able to kind of walk in and make that first connection, and then the next meeting make it another connection, and then you kind of build those connections, and you kind of shift that perspective where you actually think, like everyone here is the same, like I do belong here. So I think connections play a big role in it, but it's also within yourself.
I think that our goal overall should be to encourage more and more young people to be active in our organizations. And Monica, question to you. What do you tell to your peers, to your friends, when they ask you what you're going to do? I'm going to a Polish-American Congress meeting or Alliance of Polish Clubs meeting. And how do they react?
They think it's really cool.
No way.
They really do.
I don't believe that for a second.
They actually do.
Cool.
Sometimes when they see the photos that I post, the opportunities that I have, the rooms that I get to be in, they wish that they could have the same as well. And I think that it's very important for young people to start somewhere, because if you don't take that first step, then you're not going to have those connections. You're not going to be in those rooms. And I understand that it may be intimidating at first, but if you don't try, you'll never know how far you can reach. So I would say most of my peers think that it's pretty cool what I do. Even telling them that, hey, I'm here in Poland for Polonia Camp. I get to be part of a youth gathering of over 1,500 people, and I get to even be part of a panel. They think that that's very inspiring, and so my words of encouragement would be, if you are interested in being part of something like this and you have the passion to help our community, definitely go for it, because you will make so many wonderful memories, connections, and it'll add a lot of, I would say, sorry, I'm losing the word. It'll add a lot of value into your life.
Carolina, back to you. What do you tell your friends when they ask you what you're going to do? They do something fun, something cool. You say you're going to the meeting of the Federation.
I tell them to come with me. No.
And do they?
So at the beginning, when we began our Polish Youth Forums, we're going to be doing our third edition next year. The first time I asked my friends to go, they were like, oh, like Polish youth, like what are you on about? Like, what is this? And they were like, fine, we'll go, like, we'll show up. I made them all show up, obviously. And they loved it. They absolutely loved it. A lot of my friends were able to meet new people. They were able to build connections in terms of speaking to the speakers. They were able to learn things. They were able to discuss a lot more about their nationality, how they feel, and they've become a lot more involved. And one of the amazing things we do in the Polish YMCA or even in the Federation of Poles is any sort of meetings we have, whether it's, I think we had a meeting with, we had a meeting with a representative from the Polish Senate, and we invited young people, and my friends came to that because they know how important it is to show up to these events. So take your friends, force them.
Yeah, bring them, exactly. And, you know, I want to use you, Mr. Spula, to put this into perspective. It's so cool to be Polish today that I cannot even imagine. If we can proudly say we are from Poland and everybody is in awe. How great Poland is doing pretty much on every single level, in every area. But that was not always the case. When you were young, you were, discriminated because of being Polish.
And you know, you're absolutely right, Mr. Dudka. Today we can be so proud that we're Polish. We have so much to be proud of. We have so much to be proud of our ancestry, of our country. Poland is a dynamic country. You know, I've shared last night or yesterday that every time I come to Poland, it's like coming home. And I was actually born in Chicago. I'm a third generation, realistically, third generation Polish American, but I feel right at home. And what you said earlier, yes, Polish people were discriminated against. They were, absolutely. And you know, it was by the professional, whether it was by the police or whatever, they were taken advantage of. And today, our Polish community is on such a high level, educationally wise, financially wise, and politically as well. You know, we have so much influence as a community. And again, we should be proud of that. Being discriminated, again, years ago, when you were Polish, you were called either a foreigner or a dumb Polak, or you were called whatever you were called, and that's unfortunate. And I experienced that myself as a student in high school primarily, and you know that happened because it wasn't an all Polish school, because I grew up in a very a strict environment or in a Polish community. Everybody was Polish, and then all of a sudden, as you get older, you get into a community that's got other ethnicities. And when they say a kid that looks Polish, and I look very Polish. I had curly hair, I had long hair like some of you have. I had long hair up to my shoulders, curly on top of it. And you know, he's got a feminine face on top of it. He was called a dumb Polak, or whatever. My last name was Spoolie, and it would make fun of me all the time. But nonetheless, that changed, because I wasn't a dumb Polak. I was pretty, I'm not gonna brag, but I was academically pretty good. Not the smartest kid in the class, but academically good. And that's changed over the years. As you accelerated in life, things changed. And that's because, you know why? Because our parents, my generation of parents, made sure that we were educated. My brother and I were both educated through college and further, and we developed our own business as well. So again, we weren't the average Pole, we were accelerated, and the Polish people made sure, whether they came to this country, to the United States, or other country as well, maybe they weren't educated, they were poor, but they made sure that their children were educated. And education was the #1 issue that they talked about. It wasn't finances, it was education. And they made sure that. That's why we have our educational level has increased and our financial status increased. And that's why we have the reputation or success within our community. And you know, every one of us should be proud that we're Polish. Are we proud? Absolutely. We wear our colors brightly, red and white, and we support Poland. Whether we're living in Great Britain, Germany, Sweden, or the USA, or South America, we're proud that we're Poles, and get that message out. We're proud to be Poles.
So being active in a Polish organization, that is an added value. Being able to call yourself Polish American, Polish Brit, Polish German, that's an added value to all of our resumes. Alicja, when you took over the organization, I think you went out on a mission to make it younger. And one of your greatest accomplishments is this 21-year-old board member right now.
Thank you.
Does this mission going to continue? What's your vision for the organization long term in terms of bringing the average year of decision maker down?
Federation of Poles will have 80 years anniversary next year. So that's kind of made me think about the organization, not only about day-to-day, but the broader spectrum, and how it's changed over the years. And the reason it's changed is to adapt to the needs of the Polish community and also Poland previously, where it be to have Poland to go to European Union. Or financially help when the help was needed. That obviously has changed and is changing, and our Polonia is changing because obviously of Brexit. So we do not have. For a lot of years, since 2004, it was rising, and then after Brexit, now we lose about over 20,000 Polish people go back or go somewhere else from Britain. So it's so I guess the long term would be to adapt to that change, and the young people will be that change as well, because they will best know how to adapt to that change. They are already the generation that was brought up in England, but either first, second, or third generation. But their approach will be different, and they won't have that kind of thinking of, things that worked even 20 years ago won't work now, because there's a different kind of approach that is needed, and the role of Federation of Poles is different. It's the Polish YMCA stays the same. It's we've got a dance group of 120 people. We do youth work. We kind of want them then to stay on being interested, but it's the kind of foundation, and all the youth organizations in United Kingdom are, or probably around the world, are the foundations of then having people interested in continuing the work within Polish organizations, and that then means that their identity is so much stronger Polish side than the British side, and that's obviously what we all want. Every single organization, whatever they do, if it's a Polish organization, that's our main aim, and then to serve that community the best we can. So I don't know long term, to be honest. I don't even know how it will look in 10 years' time, because it's a new situation. It's new for us. We are adapting now, and I hope we'll get to adapt in the future to serve best the organizations, the Polish community, the links with Poland, with organizations around the world, with the European Union. So, I can say to young people, the world is your oyster. Whatever you decide, it'll be.
Yeah, and a lot of Polish organizations are in crisis, and it's obvious. The membership is declining. It's hard to clearly define the mission. Back in the day, we were all fighting. These organizations were fighting communism, were supporting Poland. Those goals are gone right now. And honestly, guys, Monica, Karolina, you at some point will have to provide new focus. Do you think that you will be ready to redefine, or is there a need among your generation to organize, to form organizations, to be member of this or that union or związek or whatever we're going to call those organizations? Do you think that the need for this will continue?
I absolutely do. Because number one, even though our communities are changing, our pride in our heritage does not have to change. And that could be our main focus. When I think about the US, I believe that we most certainly need Polish organizations, because we don't want to fade into the background. We want people to know that we are Polish and we are going to fight for Polish interests. So therefore, I don't think that we need to necessarily dismantle these organizations or think about them fading into the background. In fact, we have to re-energize them, and we have to come with new, fresh ideas. And through intergenerational cooperation, I believe that we will strike a good balance, because certainly we will look towards our older mentors for support, for advice on how to run such organizations, how to put on events. These are things that we as young people, we have to learn in order to keep the organizations alive and thriving. And I don't think that necessarily people should look to start their own organizations. I believe that there is beauty in continuity. So if there are organizations that have rich history, rich traditions, let's contribute to that. Let's keep it going. We'll find a new mission, a new purpose, but the tradition stays alive.
Yeah, and that's a very important point, because I think that in many cases people are contemplating, let's not try to break this brick wall with my head. Let's start a new organization from the ground up. And I agree with you, Monica, that might not be the case. Let's use the bricks, the foundation, and several stories that are already built, and let's try to resurface them, redo them, start something new. But Karolina, do you think that organizations will continue? Do you think that young people will have the need to organize, to be member of an organization?
I think yes. I think young people will. I think it can vary. I'm a big believer in, obviously, you know, depending on what sort of situation we're in, whether it's financial, political, whatever, our goals will continue to change. Our aims as an organization will continue to change. Our audience will continue to change. But I do think I've had a few young people reach out to me, whether it's organizing a project or organizing a group of their own and being unsure how to do it. And I've been completely supportive of it, because I've spoken to them about the options of the organizations that there are, and if they feel like there should be another organization made, there's clearly a gap somewhere.
Okay.
So, and in that context, what I tend to just recommend for them is to, you know, have a little think about what they'd like, and then speak to an organization that exists for some support. But I'm very up for, you know, being able to support organizations that are already around, that have loads of history, and, you know, and kind of have their aims, but also being able to create.
Yeah, or work together with them,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Mr. Spula, the transitions will have to happen. There is no way people will cling to their positions without passing the baton at some point. But this should not be a revolution, this should be evolution. How, in the perfect world, the transition should happen? How smooth the process should be?
It should be done in a slow, not a slow process, but in a smooth transition more than anything else. The baton has to be passed, and it's got to be done gradually. I agree with you as far as you don't need new organizations. You don't. All it takes, an organization has to maybe be restructured in some fashion, but you don't want to start a new organizations, because how is recognition supplied, or how does the government or anyone look at? They look at numbers within an organization, and I speak looking at it from a political perspective. How do you get issues taken care of? It's through numbers. How many members do you have in an organization? What do you represent? So instead of starting a new organization, jump on board and introduce your project or thoughts to the organization or to the administration, and take it from there, because numbers speak for themselves. That's all I can say. That's what you need to do. Strong organizations have influence, and you take a look at your own countries. Don't have to look far. I'm not going to the United States. You look at Germany, you look at Switzerland, you look at South America, you look at Germany. Numbers speak. How do you get people elected? By what? By numbers, folks, by numbers, more than anything else. Numbers have power, and getting together as groups have power. And then we take a look at what happened in the solidarity movement. Why did things change in this country? Because of the movement of people organizing and getting together. And that's what you need to look at. Same thing from within our organizations. Yes, do I encourage people to start organizations? Absolutely not. Join other organizations that are there, because they have the history. They have the history, and they have the tenureship behind them. Numbers speak.
Yeah, but how do you transform the organization? You bring people on board. How much voice do you give them? What kind of roles you can give young people?
Well, first of all, it's a valid question. You bring them in slowly, and you get them to accept the organization, whether they like the organization, and move forward. It's like Ms. Lebenstein said. She was brought in, and she's bringing in other folks, or gradually doing this. It doesn't happen overnight. Things don't happen overnight. You know, I was brought into the organization, and well, I didn't become president of the organization overnight. Yeah. Absolutely not. I had to work my way up, and it's hard work. And you know, I have a little card in my desk, And sometimes when I get discouraged or disgusted, yes, and I do get disgusted and discouraged as well. But there's a little card in my office that reads, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And the same thing is applicable within our organizations. If you want to bring ideas in, Carolina, you have to start. You bring it in. One time you get slapped in the face, excuse me. You just get ignored. It doesn't go through. But you try another time. You have to be persistent in life. Try and try again, and eventually you'll persuade.
I think one of the assets that you can bring is the understanding of new technology. The world is spinning now faster than ever before. And the organizations also, half of their activities are indeed in action, but at least 50% happens in the virtual reality of social media posts and creating the image. How do you use those tools? How do you think organizations should transform and create those social media policies to talk about what they do to attract new members? Monica.
Social media is a very powerful tool. However, I do agree, I believe Mr. Spula mentioned this earlier, you can't just try all these new ideas and hope that they're going to fix everything, right? You have to do things with sense and purpose, and you can't, for example, I'll use Polish National Alliance as an example. We're a financial institution. I'm not sure we're going to put somebody in a banana suit to sell our product. I love that Mr. Spula laughed at that idea, though. Might have to pitch it. But you have to approach things with understanding that there's a time and place for everything, and if it makes sense, great. And if it's a crazy idea, sure, you can try it, but it's all about balance. And often people think that younger people just want to try the craziest and wildest ideas and completely transform and have a revolution. I don't think that's necessarily true. Yeah. I do think that young people respect foundation and tradition, but they want to bring their own fresh perspective and spin in on it, which I believe is necessary if you want to keep an organization alive and thriving.
I asked the question about social media because this is where most of you start. I mean, people say, okay, do post about it, communicate to your peers. And Carolina, are you also involved in social media campaigning, creating the image of the organization? Do you do anything about that?
So I was entrusted with the Polish YMCA social media, and I agree with what Monica says. We started off slow. We didn't jump on every platform, and we aren't on every social media platform. We're only on the ones that suit what our organization needs and what we promote. So we started off with Instagram, and we use our Instagram and the social media content to promote and show people what we do within our Polish organization. We don't have any sort of product that we sell. We just want people to know about our organization, to be able to be an active part of it. And then we had Facebook, and then we had Facebook first, then Instagram, and then we decided to do TikTok. Obviously, we do short videos, and those, I have to admit, have the most views. But we also do informative videos and also videos that showcase the work that we do. And funnily enough, we have people reaching out because obviously social media like TikTok and Instagram, it reaches a wider range of an audience. One of the things we're really trying to do, and it's something that's done by Adrian wonderfully, is we're trying to go outside of London. So he's organized a forum in Manchester, and by having that social media, we have people from all over the country, even outside of the UK, reaching out to us. We have our social media, I guess you could say WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp group for the Polish youth in the UK, and we have it separated for the North and South, where we post about what's happening, any sort of events. And I think we use it to our aims and to the best of our ability to make sure that the youth is connected and they know what's going on, and that works really well for us.
So I'd say, how much freedom does she really have in making those social media posts? That's question number one. And second question, would the organization be able to reach that many people without those fresh ideas? What kind of difference she made with those posts?
So no, the organization wouldn't be able to reach so many people, and in a way that I guess it's reaching in a way that's attractive to them, and that's the difference. So maybe we could do a big banner, so you would reach people, but these are not the people that would get involved, and this is not the way to approach them. So I think that's the difference, and that's where the trust comes in terms of how it works with us. So the kind of events posting, there's a full trust in terms of I trust that they will be reported in a way that organization is supposed to be represented. In terms of new ideas, we discuss them and then decide what's the best approach. We also need to remember that we mostly work as volunteers. It doesn't matter if we're old or young. So it's how to best use our time for the organization, and that's, I guess, where hopefully the older generation comes in and says, well, maybe that would be better way of spending that time and not the other. And also we're talking about the ideas and how much freedom Caroline and others have. The most I've met with is people coming and saying, I have an idea, the Federation of Polish YMCA should. And to which I respond, well, we need volunteers, why don't you do it? At which point 99 of those ideas disappear. So that's the way, I guess, that's the first sieve. That's the first sieve of whether somebody actually wants to do work or just has ideas. Because I've had a lot of ideas throughout the years, but not so many people who want to then implement them.
Yeah, so let's make the long story short. The organizations need fresh blood, and I think there is a lot of that fresh blood somewhere. We just need to get them in those organizations. Young people have ideas, young people want to contribute, young people won't be discouraged. Young people need your expertise, your grooming, your mentorship. And look at them, it is possible to work together. We have, 7 minutes left. We would love to field some questions from the field. Yeah, we have a question right here, Sebastian.
Już jest. Hello, everyone. My name is Sebastian Jaworowski. First of all, Alicja, I would like to say a compliment to you about the colors of your clothes.
If you follow our social media, you would know that this is my colors to go.
Okay. The main thing of this meeting is to cooperate between the generations and our experience. So my question, my idea maybe for the next camp of Polonia is to also involve not only the young people who are living out of the Poland, but if we will think about the people who decide to come back to Poland and already they are in Poland like 1 or at least 2 years, let's say into the 2 years, and they are study or they start the business or they start the family, whatever they do, but they moved from Brazil, they moved from Italy, they moved from United States, and they are already here in Poland. They probably they are still thinking what is going to be their future. Are they going to come back to their own countries as a Polish people after experience in Poland? But I think there are good ambassadors to bring more their colleagues, their Polish people who are still staying in their countries, to show them the Poland and the opportunities to stay here, to study, to do the business, and get the normal life in Poland. So it's the question to you. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so I think that people who spend time in Chicago or in London, move back to Poland, they are curious still about what's happening in these communities. Do you feel that feedback? Do you still feel the connection and interest coming in from Poland?
When people come back to Poland.
To Poland, yeah.
We do. We keep in touch with people. They often spend. So for us, Britain is usually the people that came after 2004, yes, so this is the majority. Sometimes young people, like even from the third or fourth generation, come to live in Poland, but we as organizations in United Kingdom, we do keep in touch with them. We do still want them to be part of it, and to be honest, for us it's easier than America because of the proximity of the country.
Right?
It's just not far. So then they bring their friends. They don't even have to be Polish, yes, just to show them Poland, show them the opportunities, and to be honest, Poland is doing a great job by itself as well.
Yeah.
So the perception has tremendously changed even in the last year or two.
Yeah, I can also answer that question from the perspective of Polish daily news, of the newspaper that I'm running. When we write about things that are happening in Chicago, over 40% of hits on our website come from Poland. So we have to keep that in the back of our heads, that we're communicating not just to Christina and Józef who live somewhere in Chicago or in the suburbs, but also to people who actually live in Poland. Next question. Do you see? Yeah, right there.
So, good afternoon. My name is Marco from Greece, Athens. I have a question for all of you. So, the Polish diaspora in countries like Canada, United States, United Kingdom are really vast. They are expanding over the days. However, like any thriving community, there are internal challenges, and often those toughest battles come from within. Could you share whether you have encountered frictions between the Polish diaspora over the years? What are the biggest challenges, and how have you addressed or overcome them over the years?
Mrs. Pula? Yeah.
Maybe I can.
Yeah. Go ahead, Alicia.
Do you want me to answer, and then I think you can build from that. So, so the question was about the frictions within the diaspora. So, I think it's different in every country. Mm-hmm. For us in United Kingdom, the frictions came between the post-war or war generation, so those that came during Second World War, and solidarity. And the Polacy, so after 2004, so there was a lot of mistrust, and for the people from that came after 2004, it was very difficult to get involved in those organizations that were there for then 65 years. Now that has changed now. So about 5-10 years ago, that started changing. Now how and now, well, I'm the example of a person that leads an old organization, and there's Polska Macierz Szkolna, there's others, so that has stopped. Now how the best way to tackle that is and has been in United Kingdom is the other organization that we're involved is youth organizations, because young people, children, don't care whether you're second, third, fourth generation. They are all together, and then they are brought up together. So they treat each other with the same respect, whether you are, whether you even you cannot speak Polish, but when you feel at heart Polish and you belong to the same organization that kind of nurtured that Polishness within you, that's where I believe the change comes.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The younger you get, the less friction there will be. And don't think that arguing is exclusively Polish thing. If you look at other ethnicities and other groups, other organizations, they have exactly the same frictions. You know, whereas differences of opinions, there's always going to be criticism. Mrs. Pula, I want to ask you, how do you handle criticism? Because when you're active in the organization, in Polonia, there's always going to be someone who's going to say negative stuff, who's going to have different idea and different opinion. How do you handle that?
You listen to them. You listen to what their concerns are, and you have to evaluate what are their issues, because everyone has their own opinion. Everyone has their own opinion. You'll have 2 people and you can have 3 opinions. How's that? All right. So you have to understand that. You really have to evaluate every situation and then try to come up with a solution. But you're correct. Every generation or every group that's emigrated to a country has their own concerns, whether it be economic concerns, political or educational concerns, and you have to digest this and try to come up with the solution, an amicable solution. But you're right, Mr. Dudka, younger people have less issues because they have not gone through the same experiences as your former generations. And we have a multitude of generations in this country, in this world, in society itself. You have 5 generational groups right now, and everyone has a different perspective. But again, it's the matter of listening and having respect for their concerns and moving forward.
Do we have time for one more question? No, we don't. So, yeah, big round of applause for the Fantastic Four, as I'm going to call them. Alicja Donimirska, Monika Lebenstein, Karolina Książek, and Mr. Frank Spula. Thank you so much.
And we also have to recognize the moderator, Mr. Lucas Dudka, here this afternoon.
Bravo.
Great job.
So
Thank
much.
you. And the audience for their attention.
Thank you. Dziękujemy bardzo. Dziękujemy.